Okay, now we can, but I have to check my student homework. Okay, I need. Very good, all correct. And that is yeah. Okay. I have 50 more students to check.
والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين.
Assalamualaikum and hi. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Isati Shafira. I'm the first presenter. The next presenter will be Muhammad Akmaluddin. Then we will have Nur Natasha. The last one will be Nur Shazana. Based on the previous video, I guess you guys wonder what is the topic that we are going to discuss today. Our title for today is It's 2020, but teachers still burning themselves like a candle. Have you ever heard about a Malay proverb that said teachers are like a candle that burn itself to light the way for others? The proverb clearly means that teachers have sacrificed so much and make efforts for the benefit of others. Others refer to their students. To ensure the students succeed, they have sacrificed their time, money and well-being. What many often sees as a teacher's day-to-day job is merely the tip of iceberg, but there are other side of teachers which is unseen, but I can assure that it exists. For example, the late night, the early starts, the worrying over, thinking and intervening with the child who is falling behind, the teaching preparation, not to mention the endless stream of marking and giving feedback to the students, the report writing, co-curricular programs, school meetings, and also communication with guardians or parents and other works. National Union of Teaching Professions state that they receive around 30 to 50 cases of stressed teachers every month. A previous study shows that teachers' burnout are related to work stress caused by overall workload. So, what is workload? Based on researchers named Harold, workload refers to all activities involving employees' time spent in performing professional duties, responsibilities and interests at work, either directly or indirectly. In the teaching context, similar definitions of workload are put forward by various scholars in coining the concept of teachers. Back to 2019, our former education minister have announced that 50% of teachers' workload have been reduced. A quick check done by a few teachers from a few states, which is from Selangor, Perak, Kedah, Penang, Sarawak and Kelantan has shown that this 50% is exaggerated and also untrue. Now, we look at the COVID-19 pandemic, how it will affect our education system. So as we know, many government around the world decided to temporarily close our education institution in an attempt to reduce the spread of COVID-19. They need to ensure that students continue to receive lessons, but without the usual tools and resources available in school will have some impacts on teachers' workload. Now, we look at the examples of teachers' workload. The first thing teacher need to do is, of course, to teach right. So before they are teaching, they have to prepare and plan for the class. What they need to do is, the first one is preparation for the lesson plan, and after that, during this COVID-19 pandemic, other than preparing the lesson plan, teachers need to find source for suitable teaching resource for remote teaching and setting up appropriate platform for delivery. For example, Google Meet, Zoom meetings, and others. So this is actually time consuming, which based on finding of research done during lockdown, planning and preparation of lessons was occupying a mean of 11.5 hours per week. Move to the next point, which is teachers need to grading and giving feedback on student works. A teacher need to allocate and grade homework, then they need to evaluate and document the student's progress. Besides, the teacher also need to participate in management activities. Senior leader was spending more time on managerial activities such as planning for all school meetings, club activities, deciding on education plans, drawing up and submitting the curriculum, and many more. In addition, teachers were spending more time on general administrative work rather than on actual teaching. For example, like doing paperwork, work with emails and other clerical duties. COVID-19 may have accentuated well-known demotivators such as the lack of support teachers receive from administration and the work overload that they need to face. Last but not least, teachers need to communicate with parents and guardians through WhatsApp, calls, emails, and others. Now, let's go back to the year 1980 and 1990. Based on the NUTP, they mentioned that on year 1980 and 1990, there are no teachers' workload, no clerical work, which enable teachers to focus on their professional work. Now, let's look at the factors that decide the teacher's workload. There are three main factors, which is the first one is where does the teachers are located. The second one is the population of students, and the last one is the seniority of the teachers. Okay, for the first point, which is where does the teachers are located. Okay, the schools in urban area have higher student population than in the rural area. For example, in SMK Meru, they have 4,247 students, but they only have 260 teachers. Can you imagine how 100 teachers need to handle 1,000 of students? Meanwhile, in the rural area, for example, in SK Tebing Rebak consists of only 200 students since 2009. So you can see the difference where in rural area, teacher need to handle a small amount of students, but in the urban area, teacher need to handle more students, means that more works to do. Next point is the population of students. When the population of students is higher, the class size may be higher. For example, maybe for one class, they may have 40 students. Can you imagine one teacher that have 10 classes that she need to deal with? So one class consists of 40 students, means that she need to deal with 100 of students and 100 of parents. Okay, she need to marking and grading the homework and giving feedback. So more works to do when the teachers have the class with the larger class size. The last point is the seniority of the teachers. Usually, senior teachers hold many positions such as an assistant, headmasters, subject heads, and also being in charge of extracurricular activities over and above their teaching job. They have to committed to this as well, rather than just teaching their subject. This makes the distribution of work uneven. Some work more than others.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Okay, I would like to thank for Ms. Suzati for explaining the factor to towards overworkload that experienced by most of the teachers, especially in Malaysia. Now we will proceed with my sections, which is the effect from the overworkload received by the teacher. Teachers is like a candle. When time comes, it will melt, fall and freeze, and burn themselves. When will the burn end? Teachers is like a candle, burn themselves to enlight the way to the others or to the student. In my opinion is that if the teacher burns and they burn in the right place, it should be okay. They burn in the, the candle itself is like a cylinder, okay? The cylinder, and if they melt in a cylinder again, there will be the candle, but the candle is not the same as the first candle, because the first candle has its string, or what we call as the sumbu in Malay. They burn. If they burn in the cylinder part, there will be the candle back. But is that the teachers in the school melt in a cylinder back? Not all of them melt back to become the candle back. Do you understand what I mean here? What I mean here is that most of them will not survive by the overworkload, which cause them to stress and other adverse effect from the overworkload. From the previous study shown by the National Union of Teachers revealed that 90% of teachers have considered to give up their career in teaching within the last 2 years due to the high workload. Azizi et al. In the year of 2010 reported that one of the causes for workplace stress among teachers is the heavy workload. This was supported by Bridge and Siri in the year of 2012, who concluded that heavy workload would affect morale, quality of life, and job satisfaction of employees. In the context of teachers, such adverse impact will inevitably affect the quality of teaching and the quality of education at large. As we can see from the paper, which shows that Ministry to cut teachers' workload stopped resignation in the year of 19 September 2016. It shows that Ministry in that year are aware of the problem, was addressing the issue. He said that Ministry was introducing the online teaching system, which is One Bestari Net. Have you ever heard of it? One Bestari Net. The intention of One Bestari Net is to reduce the workload of teachers by at least 50%. Kononnya, okay. He said that we will be liaising with vendors for internet connectivity, and we will see an enhanced service. Once the One Bestari Net is completed, teachers in rural areas would also have access to the network. The Ministry is trying its best to upgrade the system as soon as possible. He said, under the One Bestari Net program, the Ministry aims to utilize the high-speed 4G network to develop a visual learning environment for school throughout the country. With the online system, teachers will be able to organize e-learning, he said, classes instead of depending only on textbooks or reading material. But before the One Bestari Net has been introduced, in my year, during the SPM, the Ministry have introduced the Fraud VLE. I never know you guys have experienced the Fraud VLE, but in my years, I have experienced it, where I still remember back then in the year of 2013, before taking the SPM examination, the whole SPM candidate, which is Form 5, needs to come to the hall to be introduced with the Fraud VLE. Fraud VLE has been introduced in the year before 2013, which is 2012. Okay, what happened is that the people of the Fraud VLE asked us to register in the Fraud VLE, because in my school there have been nil registered in the system, because my school is placed in a rural areas, which are a village. Okay, so the access in that time is not that enough, it's not that quite strong. The 4G, we don't have the 4G, we just have a 3G at that time, if I'm not mistaken. The 4G is just in the recent year, in the year of 2019, in the end 2018, where the 4G has come, where the Digi, the Celcom, Unify, and also U-Mobile. U-Mobile nowadays is a very strong line connectivity in my place 4G plus. Or I'm not promoting your mobile, but eventually we will see that the fraud BLE is actually quite a disaster one, because to understand and how to the implementation of the fraud BLE is quite difficult to understand how to use it, because at that way we only depend on the book. Okay, sorry, this is not about the workload, but I will say that the introduction of many things to the teachers is actually not good enough to reduce the workload. Before we go further with the effect of the workload, we need to know what it's mean by the workload. It is shown by the previous study by the Ajita in the year of 2012. Opine that workload is the amount of time spent by teachers in performing various tasks ranging from teaching and learning, co-curricular activities, meeting, etc. that are related to official duties as a teacher during or after school hours. So now we will see my point in the effect of workload. Okay, we will see one by one. Okay, in Malaysia, the education has gone through continuous transformation, just like what I said before. Aims to improve teaching and learning with the intention to reduce the burden and workload faced by our teachers. There is also research by the Tajul Ashikin et al. In the year of 2013 and also Kamaruzaman in 2017. According to their studies, teachers are under pressure to deal with the implementation or reform in nowadays education system. Accordingly, the stress experienced by them will affect the emotional, number 1, emotional, number 3, physical, and number 4, psychosomatic towards the teachers. Okay, it is proof that many people concerned with the issue of teacher stress and overworkload, and this research has started from early 1970 up to today. Research has begun in the 1970, but now it is 2020. How many years have we passed to just do a research but no execution to reduce the workload? How many years? 50 years, but the research show in the year of 2013, so it will be 43 years to really change it or not. There is 4 aspects of effect workload on teachers. As we can see, there is 4 aspects that I will touch, and also that I have found according from the previous study, which is number 1, physical, number 2, emotional, number 3, social, and number 4, psychosomatic. The means here is the thing that we can see. Okay, physical instead of my face. If we see that people with so many jerawat, we can see that they are stressed. So we can see the physical, where if they're stressed, we can see, oh, you are having stress. From the previous study on the physical effect from the workload faced by the teachers is that in a study of high school teachers in Malaysia, Kampit, Sarawak, in the year of 2007, 46% of teachers were diagnosed with excessive daytime sleepiness because of the lack of quality time. 51% answered with the poor sleep quality, compromising health, quality of life, and teaching performance. 22% chronic work stress and exhaustion among teachers is associated with negative change in biological indicators of stress. 23% chronically stressed teachers show a typical daily pattern of physiological stress reactivity in their cortisol. But number 2, the emotional. Can you see the emotional of your teacher or ourselves or our friend? Can you see, there is having an emotional? No, we can see. Emotional is the thing that we cannot touch, we cannot see, but we can feel it if we have the empathy. In the emotional part, as we all know, they will lose self-esteem, irritable, loss of concentration, aggressive. If we see the teacher aggressive, they maybe have emotional due to the workload, emotional stress. Okay, so don't always disturb your teacher, always follow your teacher. Okay, this will make the teachers less motivated in performing their duties. Emotional also could change or disturb the teachers itself. Okay, social. What means by social here? The number 3 aspect, Social means here the interactiveness of the teachers with the student, with their colleague, with the friends, with the administration, with the principal. So, in a social aspect, how can the workload disturb or change the social aspect due to the workload faced by the teacher? Poor teacher performance. Okay, we can see it. From the workload, we can see that it affects the teacher performance. And when the teacher performance have been affected, that cause it to have poor performance, it also cause the student outcome to become poor. Depression create classroom environments that are less conducive to learning, which leads to poor academic performance among students. Less interaction by the teachers, which means it will affect the quality of education and teacher profession, and also desire to stop being a teacher. Physiological, somatic, which is high blood pressure, serious heart problem, hypercholesterolemia, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, hospitalization due to cardiovascular disorder, musculoskeletal pain, pain in your muscle, change in pain experience, prolonged fatigue, headache, gastrointestinal issue, respiratory problem, not COVID-19, respiratory problem, and also others. Previous study done by Punia and Cambodge in the year of 2015 pointed out that teachers nowadays face greater challenge in achieving a balance between professional and personal life due to the lack of boundary between life and work. In my part, I will pass the stage to my friends here, which is Miss Natasha. Check it out.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nur Natasha, and today I'm going to continue with comparison of teachers' workload between Malaysia and Finland. First of all, why Finland? This is because Finland is among top performers even though the results have not been as good before. However, Finland is still interesting to all educators around the world because of its good learning outcomes and child-friendly and its encouraging approach method. There are 5 aspects that will be compared in this video: working hours, class size, trust, academic pressure, and lastly, admin duties. Firstly, the working hours for Malaysian teachers is about 8 to 10 hours per day. Meanwhile, the teaching hours for Malaysian teachers is only about 2.5 up to 0.9 hours only per day. Meanwhile, in Finland, the working hours for teachers is about 7 to 8 hours per day, and the teaching hours is about 3.0 up 3.5 hours per day. This means that teachers in Malaysia has a long working hour and less teaching hours. According to Talis 2014, teaching admin duties has taken up a larger portion of teaching time, which is up to 30%, which encourages the ability of the teachers to focus on the teaching and learning. In the previous research, it also stated that admin duties has been a barrier for them to participate in the professional development. However, the time spent in the classroom is not including for teachers to prepare the lesson before the class and for grading the students' homework. According to the interview that has been done towards Finnish teachers in the past study, they said that their days of work never been similar.
This is because of
they are never stick to the routines and always explore to make something new in the school.
Best part is that days are never similar. That when I go to work, I never really know what is going to happen, even though I know what I've planned, but there's always something new happening at the same time. And also the fact that we are respected professionals, that we are not evaluated, we are trusted, and we know that if we do our work well, that is enough.
Secondly is class size. The average class size for Malaysian students is about 35 up to 40 students per class. Meanwhile, for Finland students, the average class size is about 19 to 21 per class. According to HATI and OECD 2011, it reported that a positive relationship between smaller class size and better working conditions and outcomes, which is greater flexibility for innovation, has improved teacher morale and greater job satisfaction. However, UNESCO 2015 has stated that class size tend to be higher in the urban area and certain subject areas. For instance, students class size in urban area have 33 students per class, meanwhile in rural area only have 18 students per class. Third one is trust. Parents and communities should trust the teachers. In Malaysia, teachers are constantly inspected and evaluated by principal and ministry. This will give teachers more stress to prepare the lessons and all documents needed during the inspection. Therefore, teachers also need to put more effort than usual to make it the teaching and learning session perfect during the evaluation process. According to the latest article by foreigner.fi, it stated that Finland has low level of control and monitoring measures among the teachers. Teachers are not formally evaluated nor schools inspected. This is because of school authorities and parents' trust in teachers' professionalism and commitments. The next one is academic pressure. Academic pressure has been one of the teachers' workload because of teachers are working hard to ensure that students achieve a good result during standardized exams such as SPM. Therefore, school has put high expectation for the teachers, especially for cluster school and boarding school, to maintain their reputation. According to National Education Union 2017, it stated that 74% of the teachers said that the pressure to increase students' test score and exam grades was the main driver of the workload. This is because they spends more than 8 hours per week to prepare for the lessons, for the extra classes after school and extra classes during the weekends. Meanwhile, in Finland, there are no exams until the students are 16 years old. This is because of they believe that exams can segregate people between A students and F students. At the same time, it can reduce teachers' workload to prepare the exam questions, also to mark the exam paper. The last one is admin duties. Excessive admin duties take time away from teachers' core business, which is teaching and learning. At the same time, it can dilute teachers' effectiveness. In Malaysia, excessive admin duties can affect the teacher's performance in the classroom. According to the studies, teachers spend more than 7 hours per week to complete their admin work, such as filling up students' report cards, also tracking students' attendance. Our former Minister of Education, Dr. Mazli Malik, he said that teachers have to struggle with admin work, but the reality is admin work also exists in another jobs. Even the best education system in the world also has its own admin work. But the task must be relevant and for the purpose to improve the quality of education. Meanwhile, in Finland, there is an assistant that helps teachers in classroom so that teachers can focus solely on the students' performance. The assistant will help teachers to prepare the materials for the lessons, also for tracking the students' attendance.
A TA, or teacher assistant, is a support personnel in the school that is to help with students and enrich their educational experience.
Your task could range from helping them write a paper, helping them do math. Sometimes there's some communication issues. You take whatever is being taught by the classroom teacher and then you reinforce that with the student.
In a special education classroom, the TA might be more intricately involved in reinforcing the concepts that are delivered and worked on by some of our related service providers.
I assist them with all of their academic work. If they have social work, OT, speech, I do that.
However, Foreigner 2020 stated that teachers' job satisfaction in Finland has been dropped than before. This is because the teachers no longer enjoy their work as they used to be. According to OECD and Talis 2018, it stated that the main factors of the Finnish teachers' stress because of the changing demands, admin duties, and have to adjust teaching to the need of students and young people in their country. There are pros and cons between Malaysian education system and Finland education system. While we are adoring Finnish education system, but there is a little bit advantages of their system. Finland scored high in original PISA exam in 2000, but their score slipped in these recent years. Then, things took a turn when Finland's standing began to slip. Between 2006 and 2012, their scores in science, reading and mathematics fell sharply, which is 18, 23 and 29 points respectively. In PISA 2015, we can saw a further drops in Finland. Meanwhile, the other top performers such as China, Japan and Singapore remain steadily on the chart. Past study has stated that Finland's PISA result began to slip because of their education system, lack of accountability and features such as late start time of the school, lack of assessment and tests, absence of homeworks, and the cultures that celebrate teaching profession. There are few arguments towards these issues among educationalists around the world. Firstly, students in Asian countries start their education earlier, work harder, and work longer. Therefore, they believe that when students put more time to develop their skills and knowledge, the more of both they will acquire. Lastly, Asian education system promote competitiveness among the students. Meanwhile, in Finnish culture, such open competitiveness is less socially acceptable.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I am Nur Shazana Mokhtar. So I will continue with the presentation. So I'm sure that you already know about the factor, effect and also the comparison between teachers' workload in Malaysians and also in Finland. So the question is, do we have solution to this issue? So, in this presentation, I will share with you all some of the solutions to the teacher's workload. So, for the first one is invest in technology teachers' needs. So, remember that we are teaching digital natives, so we can ignore the usefulness of the technology, and one of it in reducing the teacher burden. So, for example, real-time feedback and assessment technology to reduce the marking burden. So, if you want to give exercise or to assess your student performance in class, you can use technology platforms such as Kahoot or quizzes so that you can give the feedback to your student directly, and it also can reduce the time consuming in physical marking. And the next one is lesson and resources planning tool that allow teachers to customize and share lesson content quickly and easily. So the school management can create an online user group or shared drive for high quality resources. So use the collaborative software, for example, Google Doc, OneDrive or OneNote to enable the teachers to work on the same document at the same time, and consider the cloud service such as G Suite. So this is really useful, especially in our current situation right now, the pandemic COVID-19. So if we use technology, the share drive software like this, so we can reduce the teacher time consuming in finding the resources. So teachers can share their idea, share their lesson planning, teaching materials in one software. So next is effective curriculum planning. So to reduce the teacher's workload, we can facilitate the collaborative planning, which means that allotting the time for the teachers to plan lesson together allow for a creative environment for educator. So teachers can learn from each other as well as developing ideas for their lessons in a more collaborative environment. This can be hugely helpful for teachers that are new to the profession and those who have been teaching for longer but are seeking for update their planning technique. For example, you don't have to plan your lesson by yourself. You can sit together with other teachers, sharing the ideas, sharing the lesson planning, sharing the teaching method or teaching material so that you can use it to effectively teaching. Other than that, regularly access lesson plan protocol. So school senior leadership often place a pressure on teachers to complete lesson plan as a way of measuring their performance. So we know that teachers need to submit their lesson plan on every week so that the senior school leadership can can look at to their performance. However, it does not require daily or weekly lesson planning from a school for its quality as outstanding. Instead, school leaders should look to emphasize the quality of the lesson work to assess teachers' performance in another way. For example, by student survey or result. So by regularly assessing policy surrounding lesson plan, school can ensure that teachers are planning effectively and performing to the best of their ability. The last one is remodeling the school workforce. So remodeling is an opportunity to reassess the work and role of everyone involved in educating young people. So the aim of this remodeling of school workforce is to reduce the workload of teachers, allowing them to do higher level planning, assessment and teaching so that we can raise the student achievement. So this is how the remodeling school workforce that has been planned by Department of Education and Skill in England, DFES. So let's take a look one by one. So DFES taking out 24 administrative tasks not longer to be done by teachers, and also school has to consider teachers' work-life balance. So school have to be concerned about their teachers' well-being and teachers' mental health, and also encourage their teachers to have a balanced time between the personal life and also the work life. And the next one is leadership and management time introduced for teachers with management responsibility. So this is actually for the principal or headmaster. So we know that they have a huge responsibility in the management. So they are given a specific time for them to carry out the management responsibility. And the next one is a 38-hour annual limit on covering for absent teachers. This is we call a relief class. So a teachers only have a relief class 38 hours per year. And the next one is guaranteed time, which is 10% of 10% of normal timetable teaching time is for teachers to lesson planning and preparation. So 10% of the normal timetable is actually given to the teachers for the lesson planning and also do preparation for their teaching. Okay, now we want to look at to the solution that has been taken into action by Ministry of Education in Malaysia. So, in January 2019, our former Minister of Education, Dr. Mazli Malik, has outlined 5 initiatives and 9 interventions to reduce the burden of teachers. So, the purpose of introducing the initiative was to ensure that the teaching process was focused on teacher teaching and working happily rather than making the noble task sometimes tutoring and burdensome. So, the first initiative was to facilitate the management of file and documentation through 3 interventions, which are the textbook launch SIM, SPBT, the committee file, and the classroom assessment report, PBD. So for the management of SPBT, the ministry have improved the recording process where teacher did not need to write accusations, a reduction in the number of file and filling of information via soft copy. And for committee file management, the school was given autonomy in determining the number of committee file and the document will be kept, either a soft copy or hard copy. So it based on the school needs and suitability. And the last one, PBD reporting. So for PBD reporting, the printout only need to be done based on the school need. The PBD implementation guide has also been uploaded to the Curriculum Development Division PBK website. The second initiative was about managing data and online system that will be done through 2 interventions. That all data collection and acquisition of school, teachers and students should be taken from the existing data sources in the system adopted by all parties in the ministry. So the intervention also involve a full-fledged online attendance system, which means that teachers will not longer has to fill the student arrival book, while for school with no internet access, student attendance could be manually recorded in the student attendance schedule. Following the abolitions of the Level 1 exam, Dr. Mazli Malik said the third initiative in reducing the burden of the teachers was that school was allowed to devise themselves the literacy and numeracy, or we called it LINUS, implementation that was appropriate to the needs of the student. Dr. Mazli Malik also said that school must identify level 1 students who have difficulty in mastering reading, writing, and calculating skill, as well as providing appropriate intervention or rehabilitations at the school level. And the fourth initiative was related to standardizations of form and monitoring process, which were implemented involving 2 interventions to ensure that teachers were not longer burdened with filling the canteen cleanliness, safety and rating form. So through this, all canteen operators were required to complete the canteen self-assessment form, and validation will be made by the Student Affairs Senior Assistant, or we call it PKHAM only. why the cleaning and security contractor performance and security service performance form was managed by the contractor and will be regulated and approved by the principal or headmaster or senior assistant only. And the last initiative, which is the fifth initiative, include coordination in the setting up the school level committee, where intervention that will be implemented will ensure that various committees unrelated to the task of education were abolished.
As a conclusion, current teachers' workload is unsustainable and not reasonable at all, as well as damaging the learning experiences of young people. It is leading teachers to burn out or change career in order to preserve their own mental well-being. A drastic increase is caused by the meaningless admin tasks, unreasonable amount of teachers' time, and recent changes in the curriculum. It is time for government to promote the real change in school by allowing teachers the time to get on with what they do the best, which is teaching. Government must act now to significantly reduce teachers' workload and must take urgent steps to prevent the current crisis. Now, we are coming with the new reform and implementation in teaching or learning without go to school. But this online learning can really reduce teachers' workload.